All right, in this clip, we're going to do two things. We're going to take our points and move them up so that they're in the ceiling plane. And we're going to change our points to our ceiling tiles, our little cubes that we want to use. So I'm just going to delete, just to keep the clutter down, I'm going to remove the watch box. Remember, we can bring that up anytime we want. And we can delete our points by coordinate because we're not going to be using that anymore. And I want to just review here. I'm going to go to a front elevation just so you can see there's our point sitting at level 0 right now because we have 0 input for z value. And we're going to change this level. We're going to probably for the project we'll use 20 feet for our ceiling level. And now I want to look at how we can actually raise up the points here. And obviously the simple thing is just to change the z value, give a new value here. And we're going to use a new technique. We're going to use a slider. Allows us to put a range of numerical values in. And I'm going to go number again and grab the number slider. And you can do a lot of interesting features to this. I can take the number slider and open this little box, and I can set a range. So I'm going from 0. We know we don't want the ceiling to be any higher than 20 feet. And let's say we don't want it to increment any more than 1 foot. And before I even, well, I guess I can just tie it right into our points by coordinate. It's set at 1, so I'm going to tie it in here, and you'll notice it increments up 1. And if I move the slider, you'll notice how it raises up to the height of 20. I can also right-click on this, I believe. I forget how to rename now. Hold on a second. Rename node, sorry. And we'll call this ceiling height. What's important about this idea of renaming nodes is to help you keep track of your definition as you go through and program more and more components. And you come back to it and you're wondering, what did I make this slider for? What does it actually control? So I'll close this back down again because we don't need to see those values. And now we have a way of controlling our ceiling height. And I'll go back to a 3D view for this. And it's obviously a little hard to tell that it's sitting up above that plane. But when we get to some rendering later on, it'll be much clearer. Okay, so now we want to take our points and make them into objects. And we're going to use an object called a cuboid. And let me see how we're going to find that here. We're going to look for a solid and a cuboid. And we want to define it by a few dimensions. So we want to have an origin being a point, and then it's length, width, and height. So I'm going to click on that, and right away a cuboid appears. It looks like it is sitting in a different area than these are, but it's right below, 20 feet below the top point of the 0, 0 point. I guess I could go to the south elevation again and show you how that's sitting right down there below that 1, 1 point. So we'll go back to that. This is the problem with having to fit everything onto one little screen here. So now we have this idea of a cuboid according to a point. And right now it's at the unity point, the 0, 0, 0, and it's 1, 1, 1. And if I take the points now that we have and I plug it into here, now we have those points in the exact plane where our grid system is. And I can go to, let's go to a 3D view, and I can just roll around in this a little bit just to give you a better idea of how we've created our grid system. I know it's a little visually confusing right now because we can't actually render the properties of these blue boxes because they don't actually exist yet in Revit. We haven't exported this geometry into in a way that allows Revit to see it as an object yet. And we'll get to that in some of the next videos. One thing I want to point out before we leave, though, is if you look down at the bottom here, it says Dynamo is not available in the current context. This is a quirky thing about Dynamo. Sometimes it can't communicate between drawings that aren't in certain kinds of views. There's two fixes that I found that happen. Sometimes it's to hit cancel, and if that doesn't work, if you click always to a rectilinear 3D view, the view that you actually create when you click on the little doghouse here, Revit will say Dynamo is now available again, and now you can work between the two environments. It's to me, a kind of a functional glitch between the two. I'm not exactly sure why that happens all the time, but it will always occur, and that's the fix.